Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Unbelievable, shocking, mind-numbing that the LA Lakers wind up with one of the preeminent scorers in the NBA. He's 25 years old, remarkably talented, remarkably gifted. As a point guard, an elite three-point shooter, streaky but still elite. And he weighs 270 pounds. And that's pretty much all you need to know about why the Dallas Mavericks made this trade. A couple of things you do need to know. He lost about $115 million, Luka Doncic did with this trade. That's what it will cost him in salary because he is no longer eligible for a supermax. He would have had to be with the Dallas Mavericks. They could have given him over $300 million. That is no longer the case. And why did the Dallas Mavericks trade Luka Doncic? And I saw all weekend on social media, I saw all the pundits, the Dallas Mavericks are cheap. Screw Mark Cuban. Well, Mark Cuban doesn't own the Mavericks anymore. The Mendelsohn family does. And he is a minority owner. He has no day-to-day say in the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban had nothing to do with this deal. Luka Doncic traded Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is injured, and I'd remind you, he's 25 years old. The guy has missed nearly 100 games. And what are his injuries? Knee, ankle, and calf. He is currently out with a calf injury. Those are all catastrophic for quick point guards. He's 270 pounds. Luka Doncic's conditioning and weight have always been a point of concern for the Dallas Mavericks. And they just got to a point where he wasn't playing games. He was not available to them, and they did not want to invest in his future. And I say this was exactly the right move. I tweeted a video yesterday from 18 months ago where I said the Dallas Mavericks would be crazy to give Luka Doncic a supermax and that they should trade him. And they did. And I think this was absolutely the right move for the Dallas Mavericks. Everybody also said, Anthony Davis coming back in return. He's always injured. Hey, I don't even disagree that Anthony Davis is injured a lot. But what's the difference between Anthony Davis and 25-year-old Luka Doncic? The difference is Anthony Davis has spent $10 million in the last 2 years on his body. Last season, played 76 games. This year, he's already played more than 40 games. When Anthony Davis is healthy, he is an elite, arguably one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he is a scoring machine. We talk about him all the time on Prize Picks. 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. You can just mark that down. The problem with Luka Doncic is you don't know what you're going to get from Luka. He's 25. He's rarely healthy these days, and he wants more than $50 million, almost $60 million a season. Jake, I think the Dallas Mavericks are not only not crazy, I think they did the exact right thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, the inherent part of trades like this is there's going to be criticism no matter what you say, right? Like if you say, hey, Luka's out of shape for his position, you know, he was a liability on defense, multiple playoff runs in a row. People are still going to find a way to knock that down. And so when I saw this trade, I immediately thought, yeah, this is going to receive a ton of criticism. But at the same time, I can't disagree. I don't know that, you know, anybody can say that Luka Doncic has done enough to secure a $345 million supermax with the Mavs. And you know, when you look at the money versus the player he is right now, yes, he's good enough to lead your team into the playoffs. Yes, he's absolutely good enough to be, the best player on a mid-tier playoff team. But I don't know that any of us can say, hey, this is somebody who can lead you to a championship, because we've seen that he's not able to do that at this point, right? I mean, we all remember the Western Conference Finals run and getting blown out and that whole situation. And I think the biggest problem for Luka is just the way he kind of goes about the game right now. But this is the part where this is like why I think the Lakers are bought into this deal. I think Rob Pelinka and company did this deal for Luka because they feel like, hey, he lost a ton of money by not signing that supermax, and now he's got something to play for. And hopefully that can motivate him to get into the best shape of his career. We hear this all the time, right? Hey, this guy or that guy, got into the best shape of their career and put out a career year, just like Anthony Davis did 2 seasons in a row. So I don't think it's beyond Luka to get in shape. I don't think it's beyond Luka to become a championship caliber player, but there is no doubt about it that you just traded away one of the best two-way players in the league for a guy who's one of the best scorers in the league, but there are a lot of red flags. So somebody in this deal, whether it is Rob Pelinka, whether it is Nico on the other side, someone's going to look like an idiot when this deal at the end of this tenure on this deal.
And I actually don't think they will. I mean, you got Luka Doncic for what, $269 million. I think he signed an extension with the Lakers. It caught the Mavericks did not have to sign him to that money. It cost him $115 million. It is, in my opinion, a really good trade for both sides. Now, the argument obviously was, well, why didn't you open up the marketplace? You could have gotten more. You don't open up the marketplace and have wide-ranging conversations about trading Luka Doncic. That's not smart. Not when you can get arguably the best center in the NBA in Anthony Davis. We can argue about that. Hey, is Nikola Jokic a center or a power forward? Okay, cool. There is no question that Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving together is going to be very interesting. Very close friends, by the way. One of the storylines flying under the radar is the relationship between Kyrie and Anthony Davis. Very close friends. I think Anthony Davis fits great into their culture in Dallas. I actually think they're a better team with Anthony Davis and Kyrie than Kyrie and Luka. I don't even know that you can argue that. I think Dallas wins here. But if you listen to Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really like a point. I think it was like, how do we make our team better? There's some unique things about his contract that we had to pay attention to. There's other teams that were loading up, that he was going to be able to decide make his own decision at some point of whether he wants to be here or not, whether we want to supermax him or not, or whether he wants to opt out. So I think we had to take all that into consideration and feel like we got out in front of what could have been a tumultuous summer.
And I think one of the things you got to listen to him say there is, would Luka have left? Absolutely not. Chris Haynes, and I actually think Shams reported this as well, that Luka never asked to be traded and gave no indication he would not sign with the Mavericks.
Right. Yeah.
And Luka has said he was totally stunned by it.
Well, and remember the changes to the CBA, right? I mean, the whole point of all the changes that were made to the CBA is to make it more attractive for the player to stay with the team that drafted that player, right? You can give him more money, as we've talked about already. Like, that was the whole point of, when they rewrote the CBA. So, I don't think that Luka was trying to leave. I just think that part of me believes that Luka was really comfortable with the Mavericks. Like, hey, I'm the best player in this organization.
Yep.
What are they going to do? Trade me? Well, yeah, as it turns out, they did.
But listen to what Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Mavericks, said. This pissed off just about every Dallas Maverick fan when he was talking about his conversations with Laker boss Rob Pelinka.
Trades don't happen at the smallest level without stuff getting out. And Rob and I were able to have, really intense conversations over the course of, 3 or 4 weeks that started out as a coffee that, was more, hey, would you ever, I don't know, would I? Let me think of, and then it built upon that. And, we kept it between us. We had to keep it tight. J Kidd didn't know about it. But J Kidd and I are aligned, and we talk about archetypes, and we talk about the culture that we want to create. So I know the type of players that he likes without actually talking to him. Hey, would you like, so I know that. And J Kidd coached them when they won a championship. So I think when you're aligned with your coach like that, I know the type of players that he likes. And so I felt good about it making sense to where we're trying to go.
Yeah, that pissed off a bunch of Maverick fans. I think it is remarkable that this deal got done under the cover of darkness. And if it's true that these talks took 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Well,
I think it is. And you know, the other thing, I think one of the guys that is really interesting in this trade, Klay Thompson. Because doesn't Klay Thompson become a much better player now? They were trying to figure. Notice what happened when Luka got hurt in Dallas. Klay Thompson got a hell of a lot more touches in a lot better positions. And then you listen to Klay reacting to this trade.
I wish Luka the best. I mean, it was a joy to play with him in those 22 games we were together. But we're going to obviously welcome AD with open arms. You know, obviously one of the best players ever, being top 75. And it's the nature of the business. You have to be professional about all things in front of you. And I look forward to keeping the goal the same. And that's obviously to end it with our year on a win. But it's just a hard part of the NBA.
He does not seem upset at all. No, it's just business.
Seem heartbroken.
Business has been like it is remarkable to me that you have a guy like Luka Doncic, who I think one of the things that really stands out to me is the excitement for Anthony Davis coming to Dallas. The only people upset about this deal are Maverick fans. The locker room wasn't upset about it. Jason Kidd, I assume. I mean, you look at Jason Kidd. Nico Harrison, the general manager, is sitting here with Jason Kidd. Just watch Jason Kidd's emotions in this clip.
Well, let's be clear. I'm the one making the decision, and Jay's supportive of it. So it's me. I don't do anything that's scary. I think everything that we do, we put a lot of work into it. We study it, and we restudy it, and we go back, and I understand the magnitude of it. So the easiest thing for me to do is do nothing, and everyone would praise me for doing nothing. But we really believe in it, and time will tell if I'm right.
Yeah, you're damn right it will.
Jason Kidd doesn't seem distraught over it, or I think it's fascinating to see. And maybe I will be completely wrong. I think the Dallas Mavericks will be significantly better without Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I mean,
when you plug in Anthony Davis to that roster, they're significantly better without Luka.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. You know, it's going to be easier for the Mavericks to put this team together on the floor than it will be for the Lakers. I think, you know, Luka Doncic is about as one-sided of a player as you can be, right? I mean, obviously a dominant offensive force. But defensively, he's a liability. And that's not a stretch. Luka.
He's an awful defender.
Yeah, and it's everything from, the effort to the kind of shape he's in to the want to.
But what is Luka Doncic as a player? To your point, he is slow.
Yeah.
People, and I don't know how many people understand this. They track the explosiveness and the pace that every NBA player plays at. He is, I think, the second slowest player in the NBA. The second slowest player in the NBA, Luka Doncic, a point guard, one of the slowest players in the NBA. He's had zero full effort possessions this season. Let that sink in. The guy is not quick. He weighs 270 pounds, and he is absolutely a liability on defense.
Yeah, the issue is, to me anyway, is you don't need Luka to be, you don't need him to turn himself into like a dominant transition player the way Bron is, for an example, or like he doesn't need to get to that point. But what he does need is he needs the ability to play 48 minutes if you need him to. You need the ability to say, hey, bro, like we're in the middle of a playoff series. Maybe we picked up an injury here, injury there. We're going to need you to cover that gap if you want us to move forward. And the only way for you to do that is to play more minutes and to be in shape and to be a guy that leads through work ethic. And I think when you talk about the struggles in the locker room, that's part of it. I mean, this is somebody who was looking at, a $345 million supermax, and with all due respect, is not in great shape for an NBA player, and again,
great shape.
You're people are going to say, oh, well, you guys can't talk. You've never played an NBA game. Yeah, but I watch NBA games all the time.
And I've covered the league for 25 years.
It's pretty clear the guys who are in great shape and the guys who are not.
Luka Doncic he's got to learn how to be a professional. He's got to learn that, and my guess is that is LeBron's task here. Because by all reporting, LeBron loved this deal. As close as he and Anthony Davis were, LeBron loves this deal. And I understand why. Because it makes the reason LeBron loves this deal, it makes them, in my opinion, more diverse. It makes Dalton Connect a better basketball player, and LeBron loves Dalton Connect. It makes Connect a better basketball player. And I think when you look at where Luka fits into that ecosystem, he will not be counted on to win and lose games for them. That's the biggest thing. Luka Doncic is going to have to get in shape. And I think one thing that I will be looking for, will Luka Doncic partner with a guy named David Alexander? Because let's be very clear about where Luka is. He's 25 years old. He should be in his peak physical prime, but he does not invest in his body. You find me the 25-year-old who got physically better as he went through his career in the NBA. That's very hard to do. I can think of one, LeBron James. But why did LeBron James get better as he's gotten older? Because he spends millions of dollars a year on his body. And his body guru is a guy named David Alexander. And that guy is working with Anthony Davis, plays 76 games last year, plays at an MVP caliber. Like, games go up. Devin Booker in Phoenix. What was Devin Booker's biggest issue? Soft tissue, hamstrings, quads, calves. Goes to work with David Alexander. What happens? All that goes away because you invest in your body, your game goes up. Yeah. Luka's got to become a physical specimen. And it can happen. But remember, off the court, he's married now. He's got a new baby now. That cat loves to drink. By all accounts, he is a beer and liquor drinking fool. You're going to have to give that up. And I think that's going to be the biggest question. Now, I also think, isn't embarrassment one of the ultimate motivators?
It is.
Because you can't tell me he's not humiliated by this deal. They sat up there and said, we're not cheap. We're just not willing to give him that kind of money. And I agree, they're not cheap. Nothing that the new ownership of the Mavericks has done has been cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it's a premise issue. It's the premise of, hey, we're going to pay a guy tops of the league, but he's a one-sided player. I mean, and this is what we've said for years now. I mean, we've been talking about this since Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz were playing the Mavericks. Like, hey, you've got a guy who's one-sided, who's an offensive, juggernaut, but a defensive guy. He's a liability. And I think that, the other thing you have to consider as far as Luka is concerned is he's been the best player on every team he's played on until right now.
Yep.
Right? Like, and people are going to say, oh, well, Luka's better than Bron. I disagree. I don't think Luka's better than Bron. I think LeBron is still a better player. I think he's better in transition. He's a better defensive player. His mental is much better, in my opinion.
Better defender. For certain.
Yeah. So to me, I look at this and I say, man, this trade is great and everything. And Maxi Kleber is fine. And Markieff Morris has been around the block, and that's cool.
Jake, what's the last team in this trade?
Oh, yeah. The team that makes everybody else's dreams come true. The Utah Jazz.
Is that not shocking to you guys that the Jazz, again, are a footnote in the Lakers trade? Another trade that massively benefits the Lakers. And this time you can't say, well, it's just Jared Vanderbilt, and you facilitated Luka Doncic, who, if he gets his fat ass in shape, and that cat could be he could be the best scorer in the NBA for the next 5 years. You made that happen. Because why was Anthony Davis the guy that got traded in this deal? And if you listen to all the idiots, it's like, oh, him and LeBron hated each other. Salaries. Because you have to make salaries work. Anthony Davis and Luka, pretty close. You throw in some other guys, and then you look at the Jazz getting involved in this deal. Are the Jazz significantly better? But wait, I thought, well, Monty, look at those assets they got. But wait, I thought because you traded multiple first-round picks, you were consolidating your draft capital.
Yeah, I thought you didn't want more picks because there's only so many guys you can have on a roster that I thought you weren't.
Yeah, that's not the case. The Jazz are a footnote in another Laker deal, and a deal that makes the the LA Lakers good for a very long time. Because if Luka gets it together, he could be the next face of the Los Angeles Lakers for a decade.
Which is, I think, a big factor in this deal. I mean, if you're the Lakers,
sure.
you're absolutely, trying to figure out, hey, what does post LeBron look like after LeBron retires here in the next couple of seasons? Like, what does that look like? Who are we going to be?
And then there's this deal right here. This deal is a bit of a shocker. And I say this about the San Antonio Spurs. On paper, this is a great deal. But I would have some concerns about De'Aaron Fox as a winner.